welcome back to Binging the Force, a Star Wars rewatch podcast, where every week a group of friends gets together and watch some Star Wars and discuss it like we're in the parking lot of a theater after the movie. I'm Michael, and this week our group includes Jefferson.
Hello.
Jacque.
Hi there.
Who's a new member to the podcast here.
Hi there.
Returning Kim.
Hello.
And a well-traveled returning friend, Shane.
Hello, nice to be back.
He's kind of been going around the world for the last couple of months for the summer.
Yep, exactly. It's fun to be back.
So this week, we're going to be discussing the very first episode of the highly anticipated Disney Plus show, Ahsoka, called Master and Apprentice. But before that, we're going to start with a question for our panel here. Like The Mandalorian, Ahsoka takes place after Return of the Jedi. Where do you think Ahsoka was during the original Star Wars trilogy? Who wants to start off?
I'll start. I think she was in exile somewhere. She was hanging out, I don't know, in some hut in some mountain or something, just not doing much. She seemed to have, as we'll learn in the episode upcoming, she seems to have issues with committing herself to things. So she seems to like to walk away from commitments. So my guess is that she was in hiding until after the Battle of Endor was over.
Let's see. Yesterday I was watching the Ahsoka Vader fight from Rebels just to sort of refresh my memory of their last relationship together. And I think, she just couldn't stand what became of her master. And I think in the end, she feels like he failed him. And, what we see in Ahsoka is that she can't really make a commitment, to her Padawan and her crew in general, so it's interesting to see her coming back. And then also to reflect on what she was talking to with Luke Skywalker with Grogu. And, I'm trying to start to wonder where the timeline of events are, unfolding, in our eyes. Does she know Luke is around yet? Are we going to learn that later? Obviously she knows of Mando and Grogu at this point because of the main characters.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into that during the episode. I mean, this is where she was or what she was doing during the OT. So
yeah, and I think she was just like Yoda, right, in exile, trying to find herself. Trying to find Thrawn, maybe.
I think I'm going to take a different spin on it. In prep for the show, I went and reread the book. I don't know if you guys have read the book written by Ashley Eckstein and E.K. I can't remember her last name now. Johnston. And I think she was actually, in exile, in self-imposed exile a little bit. I think she was actually going out and rescuing all the Force-sensitive children and hiding them from the Empire.
Interesting.
I like that take. That's a cool take.
I would like to think she was doing something besides being in hibernation like all the Jedi seem to do. I don't know why, but they all do. And she seems to be a lot more comfortable around people than most of the Jedis, where they try to blend in the background and not socialize. So I want to say she was out doing something. I don't know what, but something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to take a different take because it's interesting because I thought we were all going to be a lot more similar. I'd like that we all had very different takes on it. I would think that the entire Ghost crew, the entire Rebels crew of, her, Sabine, Hera, Zeb, Chopper, that they were all actively involved during the entire OT, that they were still a rebel faction, after the Battle of Lothal, that they were still actively involved in the rebellion. Hera's a general in the rebellion, just they weren't in the same galactically geographic similar space to the story that we were telling with the Skywalker family, so that they're not that close to the seat of power in the rebellion. They're kind of more offset from that Hera and that crew were off doing missions during the rebellion during the original trilogy. They were on the whole parallel adventure that they were.
Why didn't
involved.
Ahsoka go after Luke? Right? I mean, obviously, after he blew up the Death Star, you'd think the name Skywalker would be out there amongst the rebels, right?
I mean, that might have been her personal interest, but I just think that she was more of an active rebellion participant and probably going on missions, on whatever Hera was asked to do, that they were succeeding for the rebels and fighting the Empire in their own other story that we just haven't seen yet.
So something more similar to like the Obi-Wan series, where he's sort of in exile for a little bit, but then he goes on a little excursion to go save someone, right? A little child in this instance, right?
Yeah, that there were these other stories going on during that whole time there.
Yeah.
It's also possible that Skywalker is just a really common name in the Star Wars universe. It could be like Jones for all we know.
True.
It is in the Rebel Legion. A lot of people have Skywalker as the name.
I can believe that. Well, let's go ahead and get into our episode because it's a pretty long one. So let's get started with Master.
Almost an hour.
Yeah, let's get started with Master and Apprentice. Okay, so we've got so it is still a Star Wars show because we've got our
new helmets though. Got new helmets here.
Yes, we've got several new ones. We've got Hyang in there, so we've got a bunch of new droids and new helmets in there. But it is still a show like the Disney Plus show so far. But here's the big difference: we've got a crawl.
A big one.
This surprised me.
We have never had a crawl outside of the movies yet. So, well, and Clone Wars. Clone Wars had a crawl, but the evil galactic empire has fallen and a new republic has risen to take its place. However, sinister agents are already at work to undermine the fragile peace. A plot is underway to find the lost Imperial Grand Admiral Thrawn and bring him out of exile. Once presumed dead, rumors are spreading of Thrawn's return, which would galvanize the Imperial remnants and start another war. Former Jedi Knight Ashoka Tano captured one of Thrawn's allies and learned of a secret map which is vital to the enemy's plan. Ahsoka now searches for the map as her prisoner, Morgan Elsbeth, is transported to the New Republic for trial. Now, this is a name for the magistrate. The character that was introduced in The Mandalorian, the episode The Jedi, we didn't know her name. Now she has a name. And it also positions it that this is after the episode The Jedi, but probably before the Book of Boba Fett.
So one thing that this is similar to me in is The Force Awakens, right? I mean, sort of you're going looking for a map to go find someone, right?
Yeah.
It's very similar.
The big thing you need visually is we started with a crawl. We started with a ship going over the top.
Now we get the ship.
And the engines on the ship. It tells us this is more like a movie. This is not a show like we've been used to. This is a Star Wars movie, basically.
It's going to be more epic. That shot of the ship was great, too. That was a movie quality shot.
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing. This felt more like a Star Wars movie to me than a Star Wars show.
I totally felt the same way. Yeah. This to me feels like what Episode 7 should have been.
Yeah, I mean, it really does feel like it. This is finally 30 years later, the natural story successor to Return of the Jedi, because we've got Jedi, we've got ships. This is not way the heck out of the galaxy like The Mandalorian was. This is not like a completely side story. This is an in canon, like direct continuation successor to the original trilogy.
Exactly.
Yeah, we've got these great callbacks to Return of the Jedi too, like the uniforms that these guys are wearing, and the bridge, and this chair that the captain's sitting in.
White.
And this captain, the great character actor Mark Ralston, who always plays villains, is not playing a villain here.
Yeah.
Don't let him come aboard. Don't let him come aboard.
Yeah, this guy always plays like serial killers, criminals, convicts. He was in
don't be a dummy. Don't be a dummy.
That was the first thing I was saying was, it's a trap. It's a trap.
Yeah, I said the same thing. I think this is Ralston being in this is the second cast member from Aliens that's appeared in one of the Star Wars TV shows. We had Michael Biehn in The Mandalorian a couple of seasons ago.
Yeah, we know the movies that Dave Filoni is a fan of, clearly.
Yes.
And we recognize that ship. I mean, that's clearly an Imperial ship, but they said that they were Jedi. So Jedi appearing on an Imperial ship.
It's Imperial-like. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a stock design
Yeah,
too. We don't
true.
see very many civilian
Should be the
ships.
Skywalker of ship designs.
Yeah, exactly. It's the Honda Civic of the Star Wars universe.
And I mean, they're wearing robes with hoods, but anyone could wear a robe with hood. I mean, he's
Sure.
definitely incredulous. He definitely does not believe that they're Jedi.
Yeah.
I mean,
He's-
at this point, it's hard to tell, if they're Sith or Jedi from a viewer's point,
Mhm.
and even when they pull their lightsabers, it's
Yeah.
pretty exciting.
Or just cosplayers. We don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's like anyone could say they're a Jedi. I mean, it's not like they have
That's
ID.
true.
Yeah, and it's not like anybody's going to be able to say no, you're not with authority.
Especially if you have a lightsaber there.
Mhm.
But
I mean,
why
that
did
helps. That helps the case that they have a lightsaber. But again, you could buy a lightsaber probably on the black market.
Yeah, exactly.
Find one somewhere.
Yeah, but why did they not even search him for weapons,
Right,
period, and
yeah.
all that other
That's
stuff?
the thing. Is
Like,
sorry, go ahead.
no, that's fine. Go ahead.
I think at this point, we're seeing orange lightsabers, right? That's something we've never seen before.
Yeah, we haven't seen orange before.
And then a lightsaber going through someone's chest, that's pretty new too.
Yeah, and saying we're no Jedi. So, he's like, you were right about that. We're no Jedi.
Yeah.
But what are they? That's the thing.
They're not Sith.
Are they Sith? Are what are they? I mean, clearly they have the powers.
I
Right.
think they're Jedi that are trying to become Sith. That's what I think.
Maybe Jedi in search of a Sith as a master.
Well, later on, we'll see that Inquisitor that's with them too. That
Right.
raises
Yep.
even more questions, right?
Yep. And of course, this is the great Ray Stevenson, the amazing actor who unfortunately passed away before this show aired. So,
Mhm.
Yeah, I really like this character. I think it's a really cool character.
yeah, he'd already previously been a voice in the Clone Wars. Gar Saxon.
Gar
I mean,
Yeah.
he was
She
in the
is.
Thor movies as Volstagg. He played the Punisher in a live action movie, Punisher War Journal, one of the better actually Punisher movies.
I think probably still most well known for Rome, for HBO's Rome.
Right. Yeah, Lady Morgan, interesting. So this is Morgan L. Smith, who we previously only knew as the Magistrate.
Mhm. And who
Right.
has hidden depths, as we're finding out.
Well, and she has a pretty deep secret that we're going to find out here in a little bit too.
Yeah, I don't think we even find out till like next episode.
And looks surprisingly good in a yellow jumpsuit.
She's tiny, tiny, tiny.
Well, Ray Stevenson was very, very tall.
He's a big guy. He was like
But he
6'5".
looks pretty wide,
Yeah.
also. But
He was definitely an imposing man. Master and Apprentice, Part 1. Yeah, just like previous Star Wars shows, if you went into Disney Plus yesterday, it did not give you titles. You don't get the titles until you actually watch it, just in case the titles are spoilers.
Sure.
They
So that opening shot with the ship looked like something right out of one of the movies.
yes.
This shot looks like something out of one of the animated shows,
Yep.
which I think is just as cool.
Yeah.
It's acknowledging the roots
Yeah.
of the show.
Yeah, I know. I still have not seen all of Clone Wars and Rebels, but it did seem they were always walking into temples, and it seems
Mhm.
like the Jedi spent a lot of years, a lot of centuries, millennia, building a lot of temples all over the place.
Yeah, and making giant statues of themselves too. That
Yeah.
strikes me as being maybe some fragile ego going on.
Yeah.
gotta give the people something to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it seems like any of the people who like wielded the Force, the Sith, the Jedi, the other group that we'll talk about, next episode. But yeah, it seemed like they spent a lot of time building a lot of temples.
Mhm.
Yeah, and they needed a lot of. It's good that Vader came back and sort of brought balance, right? Killed everyone.
Well, and all their temples are falling apart. Clearly,
That-
they didn't build
that's
them particularly
new.
well.
I thought that was like so
Two
cool.
lightsabers controlling them without touching them.
Yeah, that was like, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah, that is a use of the Force and the use of lightsabers that is like radically different than anything we've ever seen before.
This right here reminded me totally of a video game.
Yeah,
Little
like a
puzzle
90s
like-
computer game. Have to solve the puzzle to get to the next screen.
Yeah.
Wasn't this just like in the latest Indiana Jones?
Shh, spoilers! I haven't had a chance to see it.
Oh, yeah. Well, when you travel the world.
Yeah.
It also reminded me of the reliefs at towards the end of Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought it was something like that too, but I couldn't remember. I asked Jeff, and he's like, "No,
Yeah, I still haven't seen a good chunk of Rebels.
haven't watched it all."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jacque, it sounds like out of us, you're probably the most up on on Rebels.
Yeah, I've watched it through 4 times now, so
Yeah, she's got me beat.
I haven't had even a chance to watch hardly any of it, unfortunately.
it's my favorite, I think, of all the Star Wars shows. But we'll see how this does. This may usurp it
I mean,
eventually.
this basically is Rebel season 5.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what Dave Filoni has said. So,
You know, for this being a computer game puzzle, it doesn't seem like it's a particularly difficult.
No, not at all.
Yeah,
hardest
I
part
mean,
would be the lightsabers getting down.
Again, to talk about like how this is not like a TV show, how this is really paced like a movie. There are
Yeah.
long sequences here with no dialogue.
No dialogue.
This is definitely not like a TV show. This is very much
Pretty
paced
slow
like a
moving.
motion picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also felt like going back to Rebels and Clone Wars, the Ahsoka portrayed in both those shows is very young and very full of energy. And in this, she's already shown that she moves very deliberately, very slow, very purposeful. And I think that's where the pacing comes in with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's an interesting observation. I think you're right.
Yeah, because we're kind of belaboring. We're like, slowly I turn, inch by inch, step by step.
Mm-hmm. There we go.
Slow
Now we've
pylons coming down, slow pylon coming up.
I do feel like the scene in like a show watching point of view was a little long, especially with kids, because I watched it with my daughters and there's like, but they're teenagers. So.
No, it's definitely a different pace. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very deliberate. What have you got there, Ahsoka?
Graphite.
Oh, you broke it.
At first, I thought it looked like one of the Fifth Element things. I thought.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, definitely felt like a moment out of the Fifth Element, but definitely also out of Indiana Jones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Indiana Jones is the obvious comparison.
Yeah,
these careless ancient cultures leaving their treasures in puzzle-filled, crumbling temples.
Yeah, like I said, it just seems like they spend an inordinate amount of time building these places, for elaborate things like this.
So
consider how different the filmmaking approach is, because with a streaming show, they don't really have to hit a particular running time.
True.
So they can take as long or as little time as they want. We saw that with Mandalorian, where the episodes were often of wildly different lengths. They were rarely the same length.
Which is great. That they tell the amount of time it takes to tell the story, which is great.
Right. It's good, but it can also enable self-indulgence.
Yeah. But it's
just one question.
Cool watching the way she moves. I mean, she does not move like we've seen in live action Star Wars. She moves like we've seen in animated Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
About her orb. So this has the location of Thrawn, right?
Well, we don't know that yet.
Well, but theoretically, we're thinking that, right? As the audience. Who would capture that and put that there in that little thing in a 30-year period of time or 20-year period of time?
Well, or 1,000 years ago. Who knows?
I have an answer. I have an answer for that question, which we'll talk about at the end of the show.
Okay.
Because the information my answer requires has not been given to us on screen yet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as we kind of talked about last week when we watched, the tests and the trials that she went through, that Anakin put her through, defeating a bunch of, robots surrounding her, defeating a bunch of droids surrounding her is really kind of old hat for her. She lived through the Clone Wars. I mean, she fought legions of droids.
I love this right here.
Yeah, a group of droids for her is not really that
all right.
These guys seem like they're maybe of higher quality than the battle droids from the Clone
Well,
Wars.
true, but still.
That's pretty cool, though.
The lady's just righteous. She just kicks butt, even if it's metal butt.
Oops,
And
lost
that's
it.
always the reason we have droids as opponents for these Jedi. Think how gruesome this scene would be if these
Right.
were
People,
humans.
Mhm.
stormtroopers.
I mean, the good thing, at least though, with lightsabers, it seems to cauterize the wounds, so there's not like a lot of blood spattering around, even if
Right.
you're fighting flesh and blood creatures.
That's
It would still be pretty gruesome, I think.
Yeah.
But they didn't care in Obi-Wan. Darth
Yeah,
Vader
just-
go and kill people.
Yeah, but that's Darth Vader. He's the bad guy. So
I know, but I was so shocked that it went that dark.
yeah.
It was great. Oh man.
Yeah, but it was great.
This is a heck of an explosion here. Yeah.
Yes, there we go.
Oh yeah,
It was like a nuke
There you
that just
go.
went off from those little
2 nukes or 3 if they all 3 survived. I don't know.
And so now we've got a returning character from all the way back in the Clone Wars. Only did 3 episodes of the Clone Wars.
Mm-hmm. He we can't tell because we're not watching with sound, but he has a very familiar voice if you're a Doctor Who fan.
Right.
My favorite. My favorite Doctor.
Mine too. But yeah,
I
I mean,
saw that on the credits, and I'm like, where was he?
Yeah, my wife did the same thing.
you were talking last week, Jefferson, about wanting to see more people returning from the animated series where you get the actual actors coming back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we get this one here. And plus, I think that I mean, feel free to disagree, but I think the design of this droid actually looks like David Tennant. I think they
A little bit.
based
Yeah.
the droid's face on his.
Yeah, I think that was definitely an intention there.
Yeah.
Boy, it would have sucked if they hadn't got him for the voice. If they're going to all that trouble. He's a neat character in this too. He's sort of the.
I mean,
The
he's her
sass
Chewie,
back.
basically.
Yeah. He's gonna be your conscience a little bit.
So
maybe.
is it's an actual robot, or is it all CG?
That I don't know. He looks robot-y to me.
yeah. I think it's real
I think
Probably
it's
a
a
mix.
prop.
with
I
some
know.
help with CG.
Yeah,
He's
the
not in it.
well, and
X-Wings.
X-wings, yay! Filoni and Favreau have talked about wanting to do as much practical stuff as they can before.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So is he in it, or is it an actual prop?
that looks like a puppet to me.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm going to guess it's probably a mix of practical and CGI. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't think David Tennant's anywhere near it. I don't think David Tennant
So
even.
he's just doing the voice.
Yeah,
I think David Tennant probably recorded it at home.
Yeah.
This ship is weird.
It is a different design. Now, have we ever seen this ship of hers before?
No, not that I can recall.
I was gonna say I didn't think I saw it anywhere. It's not.
Yeah.
I don't think it's in Rebels. No.
Okay.
It's a new design. It's kind of similar to the ship that Bo-Katan
Yeah.
flies.
Yeah.
in
Where it
the-
kind of turns
Yeah.
on a 90-degree angle there.
I like the new types of ships they're coming up with in these
Yeah.
series. It's sort of fun. They feel very Star Wars, which is appropriate.
Yeah, that one has like a Falcon cockpit in it.
yeah, elements from the other design so that it looks like it belongs there.
Yay, different color pilots.
What's really cool about this is it feels so much like Return of the Jedi. I feel it.
She's so pretty.
Oh, Hera.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So not the actress from the animated series, because that was Vanessa Marshall who did the voice, but yeah, new Mary Elizabeth Winstead doing the live action Hera here.
Looking
General
very
Hera.
colorful.
What else is she in?
Oh, she's done a ton of stuff. Scott
She was
Pilgrim. She was
Mhm.
Ramona Flowers in Scott Pilgrim. She was in the most recent Harley Quinn movie, The Birds of Prey.
Okay.
Yeah, she was Huntress in that.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's done
Season-
she's done a lot of superhero or comic book related stuff.
Yeah. She was in season 3 of the Fargo television series
Yeah.
with Ewan McGregor, who she's married to in real life.
Oh, that I
Oh.
did not know.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just had a kid about a year ago too.
Wow.
Nice. They're a Star Wars family. That's pretty cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, here we have
Yeah,
more.
so
of
they're
that.
trying to figure out who these people were. So they've got video of them. I find it interesting when they talk about here that they end up trying to identify them through the lightsaber, but they've got video of their faces.
Yeah, well, you know, let's just go with it. You know,
Sometimes
I
you gotta
was-
take that leap.
I didn't notice that because I was distracted by the background. I this seems like it's the same briefing room from Return of the Jedi when they go over the plan, the Death Star.
It does.
Same lowest bidder.
Yeah, well, it might be the same ship for all we know.
True.
There's there's clearly a lot of love for Return of the Jedi in this episode.
Yeah, like I said, this more than anything I think we've ever seen so far feels like a direct continuation of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Book of Boba Fett did for Boba Fett.
Well,
yeah.
Sure. So of course, I mean, we've talked about this on this show over the course of discussing Rebels and stuff like that. But I mean, if you did not watch Rebels, does this show make any sense to you whatsoever?
Yes,
So-
I think you could just forget life before today and just keep going on and just enjoy the story, because they are laying down a really good, definite story of who they are and where.
Yeah, but if I haven't seen Rebels and I don't know who Thrawn is and I don't know who Hera is and I don't know who Sabine is, I'm just a casual Star Wars fan who came into this watching The Mandalorian. Does any of this make any sense to me whatsoever?
Let me give you Courtney's point of view. So that is sort of like her point of view. Yeah, she knows, heard of Thrawn, seen Ezra and stuff because Abby's watched all of Rebels through the years. But her real exposure of Star Wars is live action. What everyone has seen, and she enjoyed it. She felt it was slow in parts, and that it was really hard to understand that reason why they're going after Ezra and Thrawn and what that push is and why they have that connection with all of them. And she's just sort of was like, I get it, but it's hard for me to have that pull that they're trying.
Right. I mean, you have to care about the characters. You have to care about the mission.
Yeah.
And sorry, go ahead, Jackie.
Oh no, sorry. I actually, a friend of mine actually texted me this exact question today because his wife hates the animation of Rebels and Clone Wars. So he's like, can she watch this without having watched those? And I said, I think if you can get somebody to at least watch the last couple episodes of Rebels, they'll have that connection.
Yeah, but that shouldn't be a requirement.
No, it shouldn't be. But I don't think if you know these characters from before, you're not going to have the connection to them.
Now, here, Jefferson, here's your character actor, amazing character actor, Clancy Brown, playing the same role that he played in Rebels. Because they had made the character basically look like him, so it was very easy to get Clancy Brown to play the character they played, Ryder from Rebels.
Yeah, I was absolutely thrilled when I saw this. I didn't get spoiled on this. I didn't know he was going to be in it.
I don't think anyone did. I think they had pretty much kept that close to the vest. I hadn't seen any announcement that he was going to be in this.
I was thrilled, not least because Clancy Brown's one of my favorite actors. I love
Me
Clancy.
too. Yeah.
Well, I felt like he's about ready to announce the next Hunger Games.
Yeah. Maybe a little.
And I mean, again, more Rebels ties. I mean, we're here on Lothal, so I mean, these spires and the whole planet here looks familiar to fans of Rebels, but to non-fans of Rebels, I mean,
that backdrop is from Rebels.
It's basically cool. Rebels come to life.
And even the mural is from Rebels.
I think that for true fans, you get that Easter egg and you're like, oh, I know, it's great. For someone who may not see it, it's just a picture.
And we've got at least two ties between Mark Ralston, Clancy Brown. They were both in Shawshank Redemption. They also both played the voice of Lex Luthor in different animated DC properties. Clancy Brown was Lex Luthor, the voice, for over a decade, and then Mark Ralston played him in Young Justice for a couple of years. So,
how'd you like this punk type song here?
Yeah, I thought it was fine. A little out of place for Star Wars, maybe, but it fit the scene.
Well,
I was
the whole point is really. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was more excited about these ships that are chasing her. These first appeared in a comic book called Dark Empire. It came out in the mid 90s, like 1993 or 94.
I was going to say 93, 94. Yeah.
This is the first time we've seen them on screen. These are
is it a V-wing? What's it called?
These are E-wings.
Yeah, that's what I thought when I saw that yesterday.
That was
things I will not know.
that was a
No,
thrill.
I like the song because I think it really did establish the character of Sabine. I mean, that's the thing. It really, this whole scene of like telling you who she is, that she, if you've never watched Rebels, you don't know who the character is, and they really need to establish here for you to give a darn about the story here.
Yeah.
Is, who is Sabine, and it tells you, she's the person who skips out on this big ceremony where she was the focus of the ceremony. She's riding this bike out of town, and just blowing off everything, blowing off the governor, blowing off the ceremony, blowing off these ships chasing her and everything, and doing it all to a pulsing, kind of, it sounded to me a little bit like Beastie Boys like kind of song. So
and then she has this amazing hair that never gets tangled while riding a bike like that.
Magic of the movies.
Well, she is Mandalorian, so she does have the magic hair that will stay exactly perfect under a helmet.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's true. It's evolved.
That's why she cuts it there. That's why she cuts her hair.
That's why she cuts it.
She's crazy.
She is crazy. This is all woo 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 woo.
Literally got a droid, an R2 unit to flip its lid.
Yeah.
Well, and that R2 unit's even an Easter egg. The dome of that droid is designed. It's an exact replica of the original R2D2 action figure toy, which wasn't because it was this tall. They couldn't make it look accurate to the way R2 looks in the movies, and it looked like that basically. It had kind of those divots under the highlights and.
So back to the Rebels references. I mean, this tower is exactly the tower, the communications tower from Rebels, where they did live.
Yeah, where Ezra lived.
And the little cat.
But you don't need to know that.
No.
You don't need to know that.
Yeah. The cat doesn't require any backstory, at least.
Or where this apartment was. It's still it would be an Easter egg. I would say.
I do see
everything is loath something here. It's loath cats, loath wolves, loath bats.
Well,
it's just something they do.
But they don't call the people loath people, do they?
Loath people.
Lothalians.
There's a familiar helmet. I do get your point, Michael, about the amount of Easter eggs and backstory being a little inaccessible to people who hadn't watched Rebels.
Yeah, I'm just concerned about, how, I mean, they might just not care. I mean, that's the thing. I think the bottom line is I think Dave Filoni doesn't care. I mean, I think he's telling the story here, and he's like, well, if you didn't watch the last 10 years of my storytelling,
not my fault.
You're not going to get that.
And, the people jump on fast. I think these first 2 episodes are that good setup. And then I hope they get to Thrawn quickly. And that's just an episode or 2. And there's more to the season than just the search, honestly.
Yeah, there's no action. Except for that one fight scene right there.
Yeah.
So it was pretty slow. Hope people will hang in there. And then if they are like, I don't know if I like this, then go watch Rebels.
Yeah.
And then come back.
And what do they do if they don't like cartoons? Then they go watch Andor?
Just,
I
don't know. People have in-laws they don't like. They have coworkers they don't like. They eat food they don't like. They hang out with people they don't like. They could probably just kind of glaze over that it's anime for a minute. Just watch 45 minutes a day. You're good.
Or they could just not watch this show.
45 minutes a day of Star Wars keeps the doctor away.
I think it does. I think it's therapeutic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we still don't have a name for these characters yet. We still don't know what they are, who they are.
Abigail really likes this character.
I do too. I like them both.
Well, she could be this character.
I think these are my favorite Star Wars TV series villains that I've seen so far. I like them a lot. Part of it is just Ray Stevenson, but I like the
Apprentice. She has the Padawan braid.
Yeah, she has a Padawan braid. Yep.
And these characters here, I think, are so much cooler than.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't think this came up till next episode. Okay, the Night Sisters of Dathomir. So we established that's who
she's all freaked out now. She's like, what?
Yeah. And something else to confuse the people who haven't watched the animated stuff.
I love her hair. That braid is to die for.
Well, and it gives so much more to the Mando episode now too.
Yeah, because she really, as the magistrate, really wasn't that interesting a character, but now we're getting so many more levels to that character. The idea that, that she's a witch of Dathomir, and there's a lot of backstory to that from Rebels and from Clone Wars, but that she was just sitting there being the kind of governor of a small stronghold town on this backwater planet,
Basically being a hermit.
Yeah.
So there's an Inquisitor in the background.
Yeah.
Do you think the Inquisitor reports to him? And that's his Padawan, obviously. So that's just sort of like his Inquisitor, or do you think that's like
Could be hers?
Yeah,
I think it's hers.
I was gonna say I think it's hers.
Yeah, it's not really clear.
I still don't know enough about Inquisitors to really form an opinion on that.
But he's not following her, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But she calls him Master. She's got a Padawan braid. But he said, "We're no Jedi," and they've got orange lightsabers.
It's also confusing.
He knows who Ahsoka Tano is. He knows that she's got a former.
No, there's no gray Jedi, right?
Well, it's never been established in canon and media, so.
Or in this case, I guess it would be orange Jedi.
Is this what Vader would have become if he Anakin become if he never got really turned into Vader?
Maybe.
Yeah. Or what Ahsoka could have been. I mean, because she never fully embraced the Jedi philosophy.
Yeah.
She said on many occasions, I'm not a Jedi.
She said it already here.
Yeah.
Again.
Now, this is going to come up here. This is going to come up in the next episode. I need you guys to clear this up for me. But, I mean, I have watched enough Rebels to say, but wait a second. How could she be Ahsoka's apprentice? She didn't have Force powers, did she?
They're gonna bring that. No, she didn't, and they're gonna bring that up later in this episode, or it might be in the next episode.
So I mean,
I
guess
how would that work?
I guess that's just more of Ahsoka not caring about tradition or not wanting to follow rules or anything like that. But I mean, she chose to train someone as a Jedi apprentice who did not have a connection or direct connection to the Force.
Can you develop that connection over time?
I was gonna say I think she's developed it over time because she did use and wield the darksaber.
Right.
So,
we saw that. We saw that training. We saw what was the older Jedi's name in Rebels?
Kanan.
Yeah, we saw him training her with that, and we saw him training her with the lightsaber, with her with the dark saber. So she's had training in a saber, but that's not the same as being trained as a Jedi.
Well, isn't there a quick test they can do?
I think if you're going to train with a weapon of that caliber, that you're going to have some Force sensitiveness. Yeah. And it could just expand as she's trains more with Ahsoka. But
does that mean Bo-Katan has some Force?
I would think so.
Interesting.
So
go ahead.
They could just check their midi-chlorian count and just
then they would know.
We don't talk. There is no midi-chlorian count in this.
We don't talk about that.
We don't say the M word here.
Yeah, we don't talk about that.
I did have a question. It's related to this discussion a little bit. So it's been pretty well established in the core films that Force powers are hereditary, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yet Jedi are not allowed to get married and have families.
Right.
Yeah.
So how does that work?
Yeah, I mean,
where are they getting more Jedi
occur that
they're getting it on the side.
Yeah,
it's like the Catholic Church.
Okay.
Well, because we saw like in Ahsoka, in Tales of the Jedi, when we saw Ahsoka being born, that I mean, just every once in a while, I mean, a Force sensitive child is born.
Like Anakin.
Yeah. Right, but so if
he was manifested,
Force powers are hereditary, and they're training these Jedi and not letting them have families.
Aren't they breeding out the trait?
Exactly, and are they trying to control the number of people with Jedi powers? I don't know.
It could also skip a generation, like twins.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, that's probably part of it. I think like the Catholic Church, I think a lot of the Jedi Order's rules were all about control, and so I think they were trying to keep down the number of Jedi.
Well, so think about it this way. I mean, so Rey is Palpatine's granddaughter, and it obviously skipped a generation because his child, son or daughter,
Right.
Don't remember.
Yeah.
Didn't have force powers, right? And it went to Rey. So maybe it skips a generation or something like that.
I don't know. I mean, had we made a deal of it being hereditary anytime other than in the Skywalker line? Has that ever been brought up with any other family genetic wise?
I don't think so.
Not that I can
think of.
recall.
Yeah. So I don't think it being hereditary is a thing. I think that's just a Skywalker thing.
Well, and it's Skywalker thing because if you think Anakin was just manifested from the Force,
Right. Yeah. And Anakin was an immaculate conception of the Force. So
Meanwhile, back on Ahsoka's show.
And then a Jedi had twins.
Mhm.
So you know what I mean? And then if Rey's Palpy's grandbaby, then he had a baby. So they're out there having them.
So back to trying to figure out the little circular thing here.
it's
That reminds me of Hellraiser. That's all I could think of was
I thought the same thing. I found myself wishing that Doug Bradley were in this somewhere. Just
oh gosh, that would have been amazing. Honestly,
Yeah, I was thinking Rubik's Cube because I mean we see her do it later. We don't see it at this point yet, but I was thinking Rubik's Cube with it.
Yeah, they made a Rubik's circle. I think they did. There was Rubik's everything.
There was like a Rubik's sphere, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
This scene to me felt like a callback to Ahsoka with the coffee. Felt like to me almost like making fun of Game of Thrones when they had the coffee on set.
Where did that coffee cup come from?
Right.
Yeah.
Now, Jackie, are you intentionally trying to look like Sabine's hair color?
No, I actually this is my normal color now, as I usually get pinks and purples. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the actress is striking in that. I mean, yeah, they didn't use the voice actress from the series, but I mean, she looks like a CGI animated character brought to life.
Mhm.
Real
And
good
I mean, with
casting.
Ahsoka, I mean, that actress, we all know that actress. We've seen her in 1,000 things, but she looks like the character. I mean,
Yeah, she does.
Well, and her mannerisms too are really cool.
Yeah, she really embodied the character. I mean, could Ashley Eckstein have done it? Yes.
Mhm.
But would that have had the marquee value of having her in the role? No.
And it's cool to have an actress from Kevin Smith's universe play such a prominent role in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Well, now Kevin Smith has been in it.
Yeah, he's voiced stuff in Mandalorian, I believe.
Yeah.
But,
Well, who hasn't?
yeah, true. Yeah, we're kind of having an attitude off here between the two of them.
Mhm.
Mhm.
We're having
But yeah, I think this is the second time.
yeah.
Well,
I
they
just
both have-
wish they didn't do this. It's kind of tropey. It's like, yes, you guys don't like each other. You had a break. We know that. Come on, let's get back together.
This was definitely felt like a very slow point for me. Like, if they had to trim it into a movie, that could be on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, that would.
Yeah, this is obviously a big grudge.
Mhm.
Well, and you want to talk lineage. I mean, not genetic lineage, but attitude lineage. That I mean, from Obi-Wan to Anakin, from Anakin to Ahsoka, from Ahsoka to Sabine. It's like they keep picking a type. It's like they keep complaining about having these apprentices who
That
never
won't
listen to them and always rebel. But that's who they're picking as apprentices.
Yeah. Stubborn and
Yeah, they keep picking apprentices that are definitely reflections of themselves.
Right.
Well, and what's sort of cool is when you start to see, Ahsoka trying to develop this relationship here with an apprentice, thinking of her master being Anakin Darth Vader, what she's coming from and thinking too is sort of interesting in my mind.
But
Yeah,
Anakin was the same way to Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan was less so. I mean, Obi-Wan was more of a traditional Jedi, but he still was a bit of an iconoclast. I mean, he still kind of went his own way, and I think the council reflected that. The fact that he was not on the council, he was a master, but he was never put on the council,
Michael, here's the answer to your earlier question about why they're trying to identify the two Jedi by lightsaber rather than just by their face. Because they have a droid who has a database of every lightsaber ever built. They don't have a droid who has a database of every face ever
Yeah.
But
I
this
thought
droid,
that was pretty cool.
well,
Don't have
it was really cool. But the droid identifies the lightsaber because he actually knew the Jedi. So wouldn't he remember the Jedi's face?
Well, he doesn't look at people's faces. He just looks at their lightsaber.
I guess. I mean, that's the thing. I do want to go back and I want to watch the Clone Wars trilogy of episodes that he appears in because I want to know more about that droid. I'm definitely more intrigued by what that droid's backstory was. Clearly, he was the professor of lightsabers, basically.
Yeah, that's exactly what he was.
Yeah, Disneyland. I was just gonna say at Disneyland, at the lightsaber build, it'd be cool if that guy would be there and like scan your lightsaber or something like that.
That would be fun.
I think Ahsoka is resisting being a Jedi because she can see in the whole lineage, like, okay, Anakin was her master, and look where he went. And then look before that, she's just like afraid, like that's just too much responsibility to have this rebellious person who I know could probably turn to the dark side on my conscience.
Well, and then Luke does the same thing in The Last Jedi with Kylo.
With Kylo. So you can see, I'd be scared. Yeah.
Little cat.
She's like, feed me.
I mean, then why pick an apprentice who prior to the apprenticeship was already established as that kind of personality that was going to be problematic?
Well, and someone who clearly doesn't have midichlorians, so I don't know.
There you go again.
We don't say the M word.
Well, it was just an easy blood test. They can literally do it like a COVID test, probably. Put it up in the nose. Yeah, you got midichlorians.
I think everything is supposed to have them to some extent because it flows through everything, but it's a question of the amount.
Right.
It's a question of the strength of the count of the M word.
Or not. Or maybe we just don't talk about that
anymore. Come on, George. Why did you have to invent them?
Yeah. I did an entire challenge panel at a convention once about the stupidest plot point in Star Wars, and I fought with midichlorians. Yeah.
So here's Sabine figuring out the puzzle.
Yep. And again, if you watched Rebels, you knew that she was an inventor. She was a scientist. She knew mechanical things, so that's why she was the logical person to go to as someone who could help figure this out.
Right.
Yeah, but as a viewer that doesn't know that, okay, this.
Why would we go to her?
Right. Yeah. Why is this rebellious, problematic person the only person who could be the solution to our problem? It's a very large galaxy. There had to be someone else in the galaxy who was easier to work with.
Yeah, but they don't have the communications because it's all chaos out there. So they have to go with who's right there.
Yeah, fair.
Yep. As far as Star Wars writing inconsistencies, this isn't really that bad. I'm going to give it a pass.
I agree. But sometimes it's fun to poke at it.
Yeah, a little. I think you just, you have to buy in. Either you're on the ride or you're not.
Yeah.
It's kind of like believing in Jesus. Oh.
My favorite part of the whole scene, or this entire slow middle section, is the folded arm off here.
Yeah.
Between Ahsoka and Hera, an entire scene where they walk across each other discussing, where they both have their arms folded.
Yeah. So second time they're talking about Sabine. So I think they do it 3 times this time. It's like, come on. Just get over it.
But this is the first time they did it with their arms folded. So
yes,
serious.
Right.
It is.
She brings up Anakin here, which is a cool.
They're not messing around anymore.
Yeah, our arms are folded. You have to take me serious this time.
That droid looks so sad.
I think he is the first droid we've seen who can blink his eyes. He blinks his eyes a lot. That's interesting.
So she talks here about, we learn more about Ahsoka, about how she sees herself as having been someone who walks away from things as kind of a thing that bugs her. Like it's a problem she knows she has, but she hasn't changed it.
Right. Here's Sabine trying to figure the puzzle out. Cat's not helping.
Yeah.
You don't want the cat to help. He'll just knock it off.
Yeah, roll it around, roll it under the couch, and then she'll never be able to get it.
Yeah.
You'll find it in 5 months.
My cat's asleep next to me on the nightstand here.
My dogs sleep next to me.
Yeah, we talked last week about having a pet
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't get mine to actually get in my lap to do that. I'd have to turn the camera. He's always like just next to me on the nightstand.
Well, we just put the cameras on the pets. And
Yeah, that'll work.
Or
on,
mine
Sabine,
would
you
just
can figure it
wallow
out.
in the floor.
I don't know. Is there a pet centric episode of like Clone Wars or Rebels or anything like that?
Kinda, yeah. There's a whole bunch where, well, there's one in particular where Ezra kind of learns to commune with all the Loth wolves that hang out on Lothal.
Oh, I actually watched that one last night.
Yeah. Yeah. That's our pet episode.
Yeah, that was like an acid trip, but
Well, the Force could be like acid. You never know.
Right. Not with Disney in control, it's not.
Oh,
Oh, she figured it out. She's
he's
having
had a breakthrough.
Yay.
Let's go Tony Stark on this thing.
Mm-hmm.
it's like there's just too much garbage here. Let's take this out.
Yeah,
that
it is a
out.
messy workspace. I don't know how she gets
Yeah.
anything done.
That's kind of how my workspace is.
I was going to say,
She's
looking around at my
incredible.
workspace, that looks like mine.
So we're gonna play this thing like a Rubik's cube.
That's right. Or a Hellraiser box.
Hellraiser box. Because then light starts showing. I'm like, oh,
And then cuts her real quick, you know.
where's the chains?
I
I
wonder.
don't know, a kind of what is the Da Vinci Code vibe too. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
I wonder if Disney owns Hellraiser by now.
They
she's
own
definitely got much better hair
else.
than
Yeah,
Tom
they're-
Hanks. in
they're-
those movies.
What's that?
Oh,
She's got way better hair than Tom Hanks in the Da Vinci Code.
That's a very low bar.
True.
the newest Hellraiser is actually really good.
It is.
Yeah.
It was quite good. And it was on Hulu, which is owned by Disney. So there we
So
go.
maybe they do own.
Yeah, they at least have a stake. Okay, she's figured something out.
Yes. We've got a map. We've got two
Yeah.
galaxies.
Luke Skywalker. I mean, Thrawn.
We got laser beams.
Mhm.
Now she's going to see if she can see it. It's right there.
Oh, I just didn't notice it before. Well, okay,
Wow.
so this is as good a point as any to address the point that somebody made earlier about why would the map to Thrawn be buried in this temple? It's not a map to Thrawn, it's a map to that other galaxy.
Right. Yeah, it's not specifically telling them how to
That's
get to
just
Thrawn.
where Thrawn happens to be, and nobody
Right.
knows how to get there.
But a galaxy is a large place. You
It
know?
is, but not in Star Wars. It's not.
Yeah.
Not if you have hyperspace,
Mm.
but
Well,
not
see-
everybody does.
Well, in the next episode, we'll see how they're gonna figure that one out. I think.
Right. It's a nice little rare bit of action in this episode.
Mhm.
Shoot him in the leg. Shoot him anywhere. Just shoot him.
actual wars in the Star Wars.
Hmm.
Yeah. Then he takes the elevator.
I mean, we've had some pretty good kick-ass scenes so far.
Yeah, and it's a good episode. It's not like the episode's boring.
The episode's amazing.
Oh, now we got arm cross, hand on hips.
Like I said, to me, it's not that it's slow and boring. It's just it's paced like a feature film. It's
Yeah.
not paced like a TV
Yeah.
show.
Mhm.
You know, it's really meant to be a 2 hour like this and the second part, which was definitely a good reason why they aired them back to back. I mean, you know that we very much get a cliffhanger here, you know, but it's really meant to be paced like a 2 hour movie.
Yeah, it's a 2-hour pilot. Look, Sabine's got a lightsaber. I
it's
kind of
green.
feel like she should have gotten a purple lightsaber, though.
Well, she has Ezra.
is my favorite.
That's Ezra's saber.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. That's
So if you haven't watched Rebels, you don't know that.
well, yeah.
But
well,
I
I'm
don't think
actually-
you need to know
I
that to watch this.
watched this yesterday, and they mentioned later that it's Ezra's saber, but I didn't recognize it because she changed the handle. Ezra's saber handle looked like a staple gun,
Yeah.
and this one doesn't.
Well, that one got cut up in the Vader fight, I believe, and then
Oh,
that
okay.
one was blue. And I think the reason it looked like a staple gun is because it's also a blaster.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And then he got this one when he
So
was
this is his second saber. Okay.
yes.
Well,
Yeah.
they mentioned that she modified it later, I think.
I like
Yeah,
the
but
staple gun
he still had a second one after the fight with Vader.
Mhm.
It's green. It's pretty.
Yeah, he changed the color to green. So
Green's my favorite lightsaber color. Much better than orange, but I mean, just the green and the orange clashes. I mean,
Yeah.
we've got to get some explanation about these orange lightsabers.
I think
mean,
it's cool. I just love it because it's so different. And
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
different. Something we haven't seen yet.
it could be that they're not like we said before, that they're not full Sith, because red
no,
is
they're
when the
definitely not
crystal
Sith because they don't identify themselves as Sith. Yeah.
Well, then
Sorry,
they
I talked.
they're not fully corrupted to the Sith side yet.
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely don't identify that way. I mean,
Mhm.
the lead guy definitely does not identify himself as a Sith.
No, and he wouldn't fit in with their only two at a time scheme anyway.
well, I love how they're setting up, the future sort of rival between these two characters.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think
And also kind of establishing that Sabine's not really that good at this.
Right.
The
Although she
lightsaber.
did do a flip that seemed like a force wielder would do.
Yeah, that's true.
I think she's getting there, but obviously we see her in just a second. She's not.
Of course, also we know she's a Mandalorian in Mandalorian
She's
training.
Mandalorian, yeah.
Yeah.
But she's doing pretty good.
Yeah,
But
she's
yeah, I
holding
mean,
her
these
own.
two characters being a central part of it.
Oh,
Okay, you just had to say that. You had to say,
I
"Oh, she's
know.
doing
had to jinx
fine."
her, didn't I?
Yeah,
Oh.
two characters are a central part of it. But yeah, I was gonna say, Shane, your daughter and mine definitely are gonna like that because they're into the strong female characters. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. They're gonna love. I mean, Abby already likes both these characters, and Abby just dyed her hair blue and purple the other day, and we were joking that she should have waited and that she could have done purple and orange.
Mm,
So is this the end of Sabine? And I do like the for our friend Ray for Ray
Yeah.
Stevenson there. That was a very cool touch.
That was awesome.
But yeah, is this the end of Sabine? We don't know. Directed by Dave Filoni,
mhm.
written by Dave Filoni, created by Dave Filoni,
Okay, Dave, that's your name 3 times in a row.
based on Star Wars by George Lucas.
Lately.
Johnny
Trust
Fabs.
Filoni. Cool end credit sequence here. Normally we
Yeah, I like the map.
it's pretty slick.
Mhm.
Like I
And
said,
I think
overall,
we-
I loved it. I think it's just paced differently. I think from what we're
Mm-hmm.
used to, from even just the long form streaming shows that are meant to be chapters in a story where it's not supposed to be a beginning, middle, and end episode. I think even for those shows, this was radically different pace. This felt like, episode 6.5.
Mhm.
Feels like a Game of Thrones type
Yes.
quality.
Yeah.
And for the art and for you to absorb all the backgrounds and the atmosphere as well as get a story.
Yeah, and
Well,
more of
you
an
know-
ongoing story, not a series of little vignettes. It's not just Mando shows up on a planet and needs something, and the person
Yeah.
who has it wants him to do a chore, and he does the chore, and then he gets the thing.
Right. Well, and the future really is Dave Filoni when he's setting up here, I think, with Thrawn, with the future of Star Wars. I mean, I know there's a talk of another Rey movie coming out, but really with I think Ahsoka is going to be so popular going forward. She's a great character.
I loved it. I think it was a great start. I think, like I said, the only I question for fans who have never seen Rebels, are they going to dig this at all? We don't know. I mean, I think the Ahsoka character is a strong enough character, that I think people will that it will be appealing to people. Because I think even if they don't know the shows Clone Wars and Rebels, they know who she is.
Right.
I think they've marketed it pretty well. So
Yeah, so far I don't think you need to have seen any of that other stuff to enjoy this.
Well, and finally a Jedi story without Skywalkers. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's awesome. How long have we
for
been
me,
waiting?
Star Wars, like I like non-Jedi Star Wars. I think there's been some good non-Jedi Star Wars. I mean, Rogue One. I mean, Andor. I mean, there can be good non-Jedi Star Wars, but to me, my favorite Star Wars is always going to be Jedi Star Wars.
Right.
It just doesn't have to be Skywalker Star Wars.
Mm-hmm. Plenty of other
Yeah.
Jedi out there.
I mean, I
There's
guess
many, many galaxies and everything's about Skywalker. No,
well, I guess we're indirectly related to Skywalker though, because Ahsoka is Anakin's Padawan. So
yeah.
Well, cool. Thanks for everyone joining. That takes us to an hour because it's a long
Mhm.
episode. I believe the next one's a little bit shorter. And even though it was a two-parter that aired on the same night, we're not going to do two right here. We're going to do part 2 in a couple of days, probably with probably some of the same people here, but might have some other faces in it. We are going to try to, on an ongoing basis, do the new episode as it comes out and try to have the episode out to people within a couple of days. We did have at least 2 or 3 people watching live, but no questions from the audience or anything like that. But look forward to people watching it when it comes out on YouTube. Go ahead and check us out on Facebook on Binging the Force. If you want to listen to it specifically in audio, search for it in any podcast client. You can find Binging the Force, but primarily our main audience is on YouTube. So like and subscribe. Please go ahead and do that on YouTube at Binging the Force. And if you really want to get a cool t-shirt like this, go to our merch store at bingingtheforce.myspreadshop.com. Well, thank you, Kim. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you for joining us for the first time, Jackie. Thank you for
Nice
returning,
meeting
Shane. Thank you for being a steady Jefferson. And we'll see you in a couple days for part 2.
Okay.
Exciting.
Awesome.
Goodbye.
Thanks, guys. Good night.
nice.